The snow out past the door is near 3 feet deep and still coming, and the wind is working the tops of the black spruce like a hand running through a horse's mane. My fire is low and talking to itself, a soft snapping in the coals, and the kettle over it is steaming into air so cold the steam turns to nothing before it clears the pot. Winter is standing right outside the light, patient as a wolf, waiting for me to make one wrong move. I have got a cup of clear water beside me, snow melt, clean as anything you ever saw. It come off a running seep that never freezes, sweet and bright and cold enough to ache your teeth. And I am about to tell you why that cup, on the wrong night, is closer to a grave than a gift. I drank my fill of it 3 winters back, up on the High Line, and by every rule I knew, I ought to have been fine. I had water in my belly, I had a fire at my feet, I had shelter at my back, and still my body was failing me by the hour, going weak and slow and stupid, like a lamp burning the last of its oil. It made no sense to me at the time. I had done the thing that keeps a man alive, and it was killing me by inches. It felt like priming a pump all night and watching the bucket stay dry. Now here is the plain, hard truth of it, and I want you to hear it flat. Clean water, the very thing you think will save you, has put more good men in the ground out here than any bear that ever walked. I know what a bear can do. I have seen the sign of it, the torn ground, the dragged carcass, the fear in a dog's eyes. But the bear is honest about what it is. The water lies to you, and it smiles while it does it. I know how backward that sounds, so stay with me. That clear, cold water will not fill you. It will not warm you. It will not hold you through a long night when the cold comes down like a lid on a pot. All it does is trick your body into thinking help is on the way, and that promise is a lie it cannot keep. It fills your mouth and leaves your life running out the bottom. Nobody teaches this anymore. Nobody sits a young man down and warns him. You will hear 100 times to drink your water and keep drinking it, and not one soul will tell you the other half of it. And the reason the warning died is not an accident, because there are folks who do a good trade selling you the belief that clean is the whole of the story. They would rather you never learned what I am about to tell you. They make their living off the half of it that fills a shelf. The fix for it costs you nothing, not 1 cent. It is the very thing most folks scrape off into the dirt and never look at twice. It is the part that gets thrown to the dogs, tossed in the snow, poured out on the ground like it was nothing but waste. I have watched grown men who ought to know better throw away the one thing that would have carried them through. They kept the part that looks like food and threw out the part that is food. But I am not going to name it yet. Keep listening, because once you see this, you will never look at a clean stream the same way again. It will change what your eyes settle on. It will change what your hands reach for. I am not a man who read this in some book by a warm window. I have run a trap line 30 miles long through country that does not care whether you live. I have wintered alone with the nearest living soul 2 days' walk away and a frozen river between me and him. I have gone to sleep with nothing caught and woke up with less. I have known the kind of hunger that hollows out your chest and sits there like a cold stone. I learned what I know by needing it so badly that forgetting it was not allowed. That is the only way this kind of knowing ever sticks to a man. You do not study it. You survive it, or you do not. And the ones who survive it carry it in their bones the rest of their days. The men who taught me never opened a book on it either. They learned it the hard way, in the lean years, in the killing time at the tail of winter. They learned it standing over friends they could not save. One old hand told me he had buried 2 men who died with their bellies full of clear water and their packs half full of the wrong food. He said it with no drama in his voice at all. And that is how I knew it was true. Men who have buried friends over a thing do not raise their voice about it. They just tell you, once, and hope you are listening. Here is the myth, laid out plain, the thing most folks today have flat backward. They think that if a man has water and a little food, the clean, easy kind, he is set. They picture a clear running stream and call it life itself. They picture a full pack, some lean dried meat, a sack of the pale starchy stuff, and clean cold water, and they feel safe. It looks like plenty. It photographs like plenty. A man could stand beside that stream with that pack on his shoulders and feel like the richest man in the country. The water runs clear over the stones, singing, and every instinct in him says, "Drink. This is good. This is safe." And that stream will look him dead in the eye and drown him standing up. Because clear is not the same as complete. Bright is not the same as whole. And the thing that looks the most like safety out here is very often the thing dressing up as it. Hold on to this next part, because it is the whole spine of the story, and everything else hangs off it. A man can have all the clean water he can drink and still die of a thirst that water will not touch. Read that slow. A man beside a running stream, drinking his fill every hour, dying of thirst with a wet mouth. I am going to show you exactly how that happens, the machinery of it, step by step, but not yet. Keep it in the back of your mind, that wet mouth and that dying man, and do not let it go, because when I bring it back, it is going to make the hair stand up on your arms. The danger is built out of two things meeting, the way most real danger is. It is the season and the body coming together at the worst possible hour. Late winter is what the old hands called the killing time, and they did not name it that for nothing. Come the tail end of winter, the animals are as poor as they will ever be. The fat is gone off them. The deer and the moose and the rabbit have been burning themselves down all winter long, same as you have. And by the lean end of it, there is hardly a thread of fat left on any of them. What is left is lean, red, clean meat, the kind a man today would call the healthy part. And that lean meat, eaten alone, with nothing else, in the cold, is a slow and quiet killer. The season strips the fat off the country, and then the country hands you the lean and watches to see if you know the difference. Most men do not. Most men eat the lean and drink the clear water and thank the country for its kindness, right up until their body starts to come apart. Because the body cannot run on lean alone. It needs the fat to burn, and when there is no fat, it turns on itself. It starts eating its own reserves just to stand you up in the morning. And the water, the clean, clear water, only speeds the leaving of everything the body needs to hold. That is the shape of the trap. And now I will show you the teeth in it. Here is the cruel logic of it. And it is cruel, the way the country is always cruel, quietly and without malice. When a man is starving in the killing time, the easiest thing in the whole country to come by is lean meat and clear water. The lean is on every animal you take, because the fat is already gone. The water is in every seep and every snowbank and every stream. So the desperate man does the most natural thing there is. He eats the meat he can get, and he drinks the water he can find. And every part of him says, this is right. This is survival. This is exactly what a man is supposed to do. He fills his belly and wets his mouth and feels for an hour like he has won. But he has not won. He has dug the hole a foot deeper. Because the lean without fat makes his body work harder than the food gives back. And the clear water washes out what little his body was trying to save. He eats more because he is still hungry, and the more lean he eats, the worse it gets. He drinks more because his mouth is dry, and the more he drinks, the faster it flushes through. It is a trap where the door is the thing that looks like the way out. Every honest instinct he owns is pulling him deeper in. The country does not have to lift a finger. It just lets him keep doing the sensible thing until the sensible thing has killed him. Now here is where most folks go wrong, so lean in close, because if this next piece does not land, nothing else I tell you will keep you alive. Meat is meat. Water is water. Food is food. That is the belief. 3 little sentences that feel solid as a stump, and every one of them is only half true, which is worse than a lie. A thing that is half true will walk you right off a cliff, smiling. Lean meat without fat is like a key with no teeth cut into it. The right shape, the right size, slides into the lock clean as you please, and turns nothing. It looks like the answer, it fits the hole, and it opens no door at all. Clean water with nothing in it is like a fire with no draft. All the makings of warmth sitting there doing nothing, because the one thing it needs to actually work has been left out. You can have the meat and the water both in plenty and still be missing the piece that makes them count. That is the part that kills the sure man. He counts what he has. He does not count what he is missing. He looks at the full pack and the running stream, and he does the arithmetic wrong, because nobody ever taught him that some of the numbers were invisible. The missing thing does not announce itself. It just is not there, quiet as a held breath. And by the time the body starts screaming for it, the man is already too far down the hole to climb back out. Now think on the people who lived on this land 1,000 winters running, long before any newcomers set foot on it. They almost never died this way. Not because they were tougher, though they were tough. Not because they were luckier, though the country was no kinder to them. They did not die this way because they did the opposite thing by pure instinct and by everything their elders had handed down. When they took an animal in the lean time, the lean red meat was not the prize to them. The prize was the fat, wherever a scrap of it still hid, and the parts inside, the rich dark organs, the marrow buried deep in the bone. They ate the whole animal, and they ate the richest parts first, and they gave the lean muscle to the dogs before they would eat it plain. They knew, without ever putting it into words, that the lean alone was a poor bargain. Their children learned it watching their mothers. Their hunters learned it from men who learned it from men, back and back into the deep of time. It was not knowledge you could lose, because it was baked into every ordinary day. And then the newcomers came, and they watched, and they copied the doing, but skipped the knowing. They saw the hunt and the meat, and they thought, well, meat is meat. They took the lean and left the rest, because the rest looked strange to them, looked like offal, looked like something a civilized man throws away. They copied the hand and missed the head entirely. And the country buried them for it, one lean, full belly at a time. I am going to hand you the fix the way it was handed to me, in layers, because that is the only honest way to give a thing this heavy. If I dumped it all on you at once, it would slide right off, the way a hard rain slides off frozen ground and carries nothing down to the roots. So take it a layer at a time and let each one soak. The first layer is the one that turns your whole head around, so brace for it. The thing you have been taught to chase is not the thing that saves you. The lean red meat, the clean, bright cut, the part every man today calls the good part. That is not your salvation in the cold. The fat is. The fat is the fuel, and the lean is the lie. Say it over to yourself. Fat is the fuel, and the lean is the lie. Everything you have been told to trim off and throw away is the very thing that would have carried you through the long dark. The fat is what burns slow and steady inside you and keeps the fire in your chest lit through a 20 below night. The lean gives you a little and takes back more. Once you flip that around in your mind, half the danger is already behind you, but only half. The second layer is the one nearly every soul alive today has completely backward, and it comes wrapped in a feeling, and that feeling is disgust. It is the organs. It is the liver and the kidney and the heart and the rich, dark parts down in the middle of the animal that a modern man wrinkles his nose at and buries in the snow. I know how that sits in you. I know the feeling of it. The little turn in your gut that says that is not food. That is the part you throw out. That very disgust is the reason this treasure is still lying there untouched in the killing time. Because everyone feels it, everyone turns away. And so the richest, most complete food the country will ever hand you gets left to freeze in the dirt. The animal carries its whole self inside those parts. The store of everything it needed to live is packed down in that dark, rich meat. And it is exactly the store your own body is crying out for. A man will eat a pound of pale, lean muscle and starve and step right over the liver that would have set him right, because somebody a long way from the killing time taught him to be squeamish. The disgust is not wisdom. The disgust is the trap dressed up in manners. The old hands ate those parts first, and with gratitude, and they were the ones who walked out come spring. The men who turned up their noses at the rich, dark meat kept their manners all the way into the ground. So if you take one thing from these two layers, take this. The part your stomach turns from is the part your life depends on. And the finer your feelings about your food, the faster the country will teach you better. Now for the third layer, and this is the one for your hands, the practical one, the how of it. Because knowing is nothing until it lives in your fingers. When you take an animal in the lean time, you do not fling the guts aside. You go in after the treasure. The liver comes out first, dark and heavy and rich, and you eat of it soon, not saved for later, because that is the richest thing on the whole animal. You take the heart and the kidneys, and you do not waste them on the dogs. And then you go after the fat wherever the winter has left you any, the little pads around the organs, the marrow deep in the long bones. You take those bones and you crack them, you smash them open on a rock, and inside is the marrow, soft and rich and yellow as butter. You can boil the shattered bones in your kettle for a long, slow while, hours if you have them, and skim what rises. And what rises is a film of bright gold, fat coming up off the bones and pooling across the top of the water, gathering into a slick, warm layer you can lift off and eat, or drink straight down. That gold is life itself. That is the fuel your fire inside has been begging for. You skim it, you save it, you swallow it warm, and let it sit heavy and good in your belly, and you feel the difference within the hour. You strip every scrap of fat off the hide and off the gut. You wring the richness out of that carcass like wringing water from a rag, and you leave the pale, lean muscle for last, because it is the poorest part of the bargain. And know this while your hands are busy. Our own ancient kin were doing exactly this, cracking bone for marrow and going first for the rich, dark inside, further back than you can rightly picture, back before anyone scratched a single word into stone or bark or hide. This is not some clever trick I dreamed up on the trap line. This is the oldest eating there is. It is written in the shape of your own teeth and your own gut. You are built to do this. You have only been taught to forget it. Here is the fourth layer, and it is the one nobody sees coming, the one that sounds like madness until the moment it clicks. When the food you have is lean, and lean only, and there is no fat to be found anywhere, the thing to do is eat less of it, not more. Eat less, not more. I know how that lands. I know everything in you is screaming the opposite, because you are hungry and there is meat right there, and every instinct says, fill the hole. But lean meat with no fat costs your body more to handle than it gives back. And the more of it you force down, the harder your body has to work and the faster it comes apart. So when all you have is lean, you go easy on it. You eat sparing. You would honestly do better to eat nothing at all for a stretch than to gorge on pure lean, because your body can burn its own last reserves cleaner than it can wring life out of endless lean meat with no fat behind it. Eat less, not more. Say it twice because everything in you fights it, and the country counts on you fighting it. The man who gorges on lean in the killing time is the man they find in the spring. Now circle back to what I told you to hold on to, that man beside the running stream, wet mouth and all, dying of a thirst water will not touch. Here is the machinery of it, in the only language that matters, the language of what a body feels. When a man eats nothing but lean, his body can only handle so much of the work that lean puts on it. And there is a ceiling it cannot pass, a hard limit like a roof too low to stand up under. Past that ceiling, the leftovers of all that lean start backing up inside him, a waste piling up where it was never meant to sit, souring in his blood, turning the whole works foul from the inside. His blood goes bad with it. And to try to flush that rising foulness out, his body reaches for water and dumps it, pulls the water clean through him and out, faster than he can drink. That is why the mouth stays dry beside the running stream. He drinks, and his body throws it straight back out, trying to wash away the poison the lean is making, and he can never catch up, and the thirst just grows. Meanwhile, his fire inside is starving for fuel that is not coming, so the body does the only thing left to it. It starts to burn itself. It eats its own fat first, what little there is, and when that is gone, it starts in on its own muscle, breaking down the man himself to keep the man standing, eating him alive from the inside to buy one more day. He grows weak, then confused, then slow, then still. A man with a full belly and a running stream at his feet, starved and parched to death both at once. That is the paradox, and here it is flat and plain. He did not die from want of food or water. He died drowning in the very things he had too much of. That clawing, bottomless, frantic feeling the old accounts all describe. The men who lived on lean and could not stop eating, and could not get full, and grew wild with a hunger nothing would answer. That is not greed. It is not weakness. It is not a man being soft or gluttonous or foolish. Do not ever read it that way. It is the body doing the one thing it can do, which is scream. It is screaming a single word over and over, up through every nerve the man has, louder and louder as the days go on. The word is fat. That is all it is saying. Fat, 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 the whole body crying out for the one thing missing. And the poor man, never taught, keeps answering with more lean, and the screaming only gets louder. He is not hungry for food. He is hungry for the missing piece, and he will eat himself sick reaching for it in the wrong place. And here is the cruelest turn the country has got, the timing of it. The season you need that fat the most is the exact same season it is nowhere to be found. In the deep, lean end of winter, when the cold is hardest and your body is burning fuel fastest, and you need that rich golden fat more than at any other time in the whole turning year, that is precisely when every animal in the country has already burned its own fat away to nothing. You need it most on the day there is least of it. The country lines those two things up on purpose, or near enough to purpose that it makes no difference to the dead. That is not bad luck. That is the country putting you to the test, asking you quiet whether you know enough and prepared enough to have set some fat by before the lean time came, or whether you are just another sure man who thought clean water and red meat would see him through. Now let me tell you why nobody ever told you this. And it is nothing so exciting as a plot against you. It is quieter than that, and sadder than that. It comes down to money and time, the way most lost things do. A piece of survival knowing only stays alive as long as people actually need it day to day. As long as a man had to take his own meat and make his own way through the winter, he had to know which part of the animal kept him alive, or he did not last to teach anybody. The knowing was need, and the need kept it sharp, and then the need went away. Not all at once, but sure. There came a day the road finally reached the valley. There came a day the store opened its doors down at the settlement. There came a day a man could walk in with a little money and walk out with his food already cut and wrapped, the fat already trimmed off and thrown away by some hand he never saw. And on that day, the knowing started to die, because you do not keep in your head what you no longer need in your hands. One generation lived it, the next was told it, and the one after that just shrugged. Because why carry all that when the store is right there? The knowing did not get taken from us. We set it down ourselves, because we thought we would never need to pick it up again. And then something worse happened, quieter still. The trade that sold you your food took that old truth and turned it clean upside down and sold it right back to you. The fat, the very fuel that kept 1,000 generations alive through the killing time, got a word stamped on it like a mark of shame. And the lean got a word stamped on it like a badge of virtue. They called the lean the healthy part and the fat the thing to fear, and they charged you for the trimming, and you thanked them. Because there is no money in the truth, and there is a great deal of money in the opposite. There is a whole trade built on selling you the pale, poor part at a fine price, and throwing the treasure away where you cannot see it. I want to be plain that this is no grand conspiracy with men in a back room. It is just the quiet arithmetic of what sells. The truth was free and filling and did not need to be sold twice. The opposite could be packaged and priced and sold forever. So the opposite won, and the truth went into the ground with the old hands, and here we are. Let me be straight with you now, the way I would want a man to be straight with me, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. This will not happen to most of you. Most of you will live your whole lives with a store down the road, and never once face a winter that puts this question to you. I am not standing here telling you that clean water and lean meat will strike you dead next week, because for most folks, most of the time, it will not. This is the killer of the man who is out here, alone, at the lean end, living off what he can take, with no fat put by and no store to walk to. That is the exact set of conditions it needs. A hard winter, a lean animal, no fat, no rich parts eaten, clean water in plenty, and time. Give it those, and it comes for a man sure as anything in the country. And here is the turn I need you to hear. Every single man it ever came for thought the very same thing you are thinking right now. He thought it would not be him. He thought he had food and water and sense enough. He thought this was for other men, older men, foolish men, men in old stories. He thought that right up until the morning his legs would not hold him, and by then the country already had him, and the thinking did him no good at all. Now, I told you I would give you proof, and I will. One document and one man, no more. Because a thing like this does not need a pile of paper. It needs one true account you can hold. There was a booklet put out for fighting men in the time of the Second World War, a survival guide meant for men who might go down in cold and empty country and have to live off the land. And it warned them plain about living on lean meat alone, warned that a man could eat all the lean he wanted and still weaken and die without fat to go with it. That warning did not come from nowhere. It came in good part from a man named Vilhjalmur Stefansson, who went and lived in the far north among the people who had lived there forever, and ate as they ate for years on end, and came back and told the plain truth of it. He put himself to the test under watchful eyes, living on meat and meat alone for a long stretch. And he showed that a man does fine on it so long as he eats the fat and the rich parts along with the lean, and he sickens fast on the lean by itself. And there are accounts from the old northern journeys of men gone weak and wasting on lean meat, and how the cure was fat, plain fat, marrow and grease and the rich dark parts, and how a wasting man could be brought back from the edge by it in a matter of days. That is no legend. That happened. Men lived it, and men wrote it down, and men died proving it before anyone thought to write it at all. So here is the whole of it, boiled down to what you could carry out of here in your head. 5 things, and no more. When you take an animal in the lean time, eat the fat and the rich, dark inside parts first, and never leave them behind. Crack the bones for the marrow, and boil them slow, and skim the gold off the top and swallow it warm. Save fat back before the lean time comes, render it and store it, so the killing time does not catch you empty. When all you have is pure lean and no fat at all, eat sparing, eat less and not more, and rest rather than gorge. And do not ever let a full belly or a running stream fool you into thinking you are safe, because complete is the only kind of safe there is. Here is the real lesson, bigger than meat and water and any one winter. Those men did not die because the country was cruel. The country was never cruel. The country was only ever just the country, cold and honest and exactly what it always said it was. They died because they were certain. They were sure they knew what food was, sure they knew what safe was, sure the clear stream and the full pack had them covered, and that certainty walked them straight into the ground. The wilderness never kills the humble man half as fast as it kills the sure one. The humble man doubts and checks and eats the strange rich parts just in case, and lives. The sure man counts his full pack and smiles and lies down and does not get up. So carry the whole of it small enough to hold in one hand. Clear is not complete, lean is not enough, and the part they told you to throw away is the part that keeps you alive, and it is free as the snow on the ground. This knowing nearly went into the ground with the old hands who carried it, and I will not stand by and watch it go. Somebody handed it to me when I needed it, and now I am handing it to you. Let me ask you something before you go, and think on it honest. What did your own grandparents or your elders know about food and hard times that never got written down anywhere? Some old way of using every scrap of an animal or stretching a lean season that you half remember and wish now you had asked more about. Tell me about them, because that knowing is worth saving too. Next time, I am going to tell you about another thing you have got backward, and it is this. The colder the night, the more dangerous your own sweat becomes. And the fire you build to save you can be the very thing that kills you before morning. Until then, keep your fat where you can find it, and do not ever trust a clear stream to tell you the whole truth.